Ladies and gentlemen, friends and rivals, my name is Jared, and with me is my scoundrel friend, Ian.
That's me.
We will be your hosts for the episode. We are honored and grateful that you have joined us at our table. Here at the Game Table Podcast, we take a look at various board, card, and other tabletop games. We give an overview, provide a little insight on how to play, and share some of our thoughts, all in an attempt to give you an idea of how well it would fit for you and your table. Today, we will be looking at Star Wars Outer Rim. Designed by Corey Kanitskia and Tony Funchi. Artwork created by about 50 different artists in the base game and published by Fantasy Flight Games.
Star Wars Outer Rim is a 2 to 4 player bounty hunter game where players become iconic, famous bounty hunters and try and hustle, rustle, trade, and negotiate their way to becoming the most famous of all the bounty hunters in the galaxy. When a player has gathered 10 fame, they are declared the most lethal, feared, and richest hunter in all the galaxy. Let's review Star Wars Outer Rim.
I'm blown away. That was so good.
Oh, man.
Ian,
Yeah.
I need to know, do you have a favorite Star Wars bounty hunter? And this can be in any Star Wars canon material.
Oh, man. I mean, isn't everybody's favorite bounty hunter the bounty hunter?
No. The answer to that is no.
So Boba Fett is not everybody's.
Boba Fett? Boba Fett's here?
Where? Where is he? So I never got truly lost in like the lore as much as like the deep lore and
Sure.
the different shows. I watched some shows, but like just didn't get heavily invested in many of them. So Boba Fett would be like, I mean, he's Boba Fett. There is so much mystery behind Boba Fett. And then the whole Jango Fett storyline too behind that. It just has such a very, I don't know, beginning to end story starting. And even in the movies, like you don't know who Boba Fett is if you only watch the originals, and then
Sure.
the prequels came out and you're like, oh, there's more to this story that we didn't know. I don't know. It's just an interesting story from start to finish of Boba Fett. Then Disney comes out and just throws it all in a loop. And there's this whole other story of Boba Fett that you didn't know about. Now, I know the comics, books, all that progress the story of Boba Fett. But I do think overall that the overall story of Boba Fett is hard to deny for me. I just always loved it. But man, they're all good though. They're all really good. Is it Cad Bane?
It's 100% Cad Bane.
Yeah. Cad Bane is also just menacing. And I don't know much about him. I've only
Because you didn't watch Clone Wars.
Right. I've watched bits and pieces of Clone Wars. Was he in the whole, like all of it, or was he more later?
No, he shows up in like season 3.
Okay, so I didn't watch that far in.
Yeah. And then he's around a lot.
Yeah, I think if I went through and watched it, he'd probably be my favorite. But from what I did see in him, and he's in The Mandalorian, correct? I think the show. Yeah.
Well, he's in Boba Fett.
But yeah, right. Oh,
The show Boba Fett.
so he's so menacing in that. I kind of fell in love with him there as well. So that's funny because Boba Fett's in the show. It all works together like that. So
You get a lot of that in Clone Wars. Like Cad Bane is strong enough to take on like Jedi and stuff like that. So he's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are very fun characters to, I don't know, just to watch and then in this game, they're both in this game, honestly. So no spoiler alert, but what about you though? Is it Cad Bane?
Cad Bane is probably the answer. Okay. I did grow up watching Clone Wars. I've watched all of that. I always thought Cad Bane was super cool.
Yeah.
Man,
he's daunting.
I actually kind of feel like, and this is funny to compare live action back to animation.
Uh-huh.
I don't as good as they did with him in live action, I still think he's even more menacing in the Clone Wars show than he is in Boba Fett.
I just didn't get much of exposure to him, so he was very menacing in the show.
Yes. If you've never met him, you're like, oh, this is, Aura Singh is always really cool.
Okay.
I'm going to just rattle off some names here.
I don't know a lot of these guys.
Yeah, you're just looking really uncomfortable at me like, I don't know who this is.
I'm going to start looking him up right now.
But Black Chrysanthemum is also one that was really cool. He shows up in Boba Fett as well. He's the really big black Wookiee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's pretty cool. Dengar.
I do love Dengar.
Dengar's pretty cool.
Yep. He's OG.
I also, speaking of OG, IG-88.
Yeah, IG's
that
great.
That whole story arc with him.
Yep.
And no, I'm not referring to Mandalorian. That's a different IG unit. But if you go back and read some of the books and the comics, he's got some pretty cool storylines going on. And he's just so menacing. He's like this super cool menacing droid that I always thought was a really cool concept as well.
I mean, we're counting Han Solo as he is a bounty hunter. To start.
He's like a scoundrel, I guess. So, anyways, those are some of my favorites. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had to learn to like Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched the original trilogy for the first time, I wasn't blown away.
I mean, he's a very minimal part.
He has a very minimal part.
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand why everybody thought he was so cool.
Yeah.
And he goes out like a chump in Return of the Jedi.
He does.
It's so bad.
It is a pretty bad way to die.
Yeah.
Ugh. But he doesn't die. Yeah, so what makes it better.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yep.
But yeah. So I've learned to like him, but he's not my favorite.
I know. Actually, I changed my mind. My favorite is Greedo.
No, of course it is. You're a Greedo. All right, well.
That's not my favorite.
Enough discussing our heroes in bounty hunter form.
Yeah.
If you were a bounty hunter, what would be your specialty?
I think mine would actually be bounty hunting.
You would choose to go and murder people. All right.
Let's not say it exactly like that. I would choose to go bounty hunting.
Would you choose to always capture them and bring them alive?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that'd be
thank
more
you for
fun.
taking the high road on that.
Yeah. Unless they're going to pay more to kill, then I think that would. But dead and alive, they always pay more alive, right? Is that how?
Typically.
Normally?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just need to get the job done. But
right.
Yeah.
But when they say bring them back dead or alive, usually the money's higher for alive because it's harder to do.
Sure, because then you can, and then they have the pleasure of torturing them how they want to.
So yeah, no, that's my goal every time.
All right. I really like the smuggling aspect.
Yeah.
I think there's some real gray area there, and
there's plenty of gray area.
Yes. And I think that could be fun. So that's probably the way I would pursue.
Well, there you go. Well, tell us how we do these things in this game.
All
please.
Right. I will try to do that in summary form because there's a lot of different little pieces in this game.
This game has a lot story-driven wise.
100%.
But as you're going to explain the rules, straightforward.
Yep.
But just a lot going on, which is awesome.
Yep. So there is a semicircle of a board that goes in between the players. On this semicircle are a multitude of planets, nav points, which act as different spaces that you can move to. And there's also different characters that you can find from the Star Wars universe that you might be hunting to capture to bring in dead or alive.
Hunt them down.
Or to add them as your crew, just depending on what kind of a person you want to be.
Gun at them and they have to either die or join your crew.
It's how it goes sometimes out in the wild, wild west of space. So in addition to that, each player has their own board. This board will hold your ship. It'll hold your person. It'll hold your fame tracker and how you're doing with the four main factions of the galaxy. You have the Rebels, the Imperials, the Hutts, and the Crime Syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either be positive, neutral, or negative with them. This will also hold your crew, your mods to your ships and to your person. It also holds your jobs as well as any cargo that you might be trying to smuggle. So that's the basic structure of what's in front of you on the table, as well as your piece goes on the main board to show where you are. and you also get some credits.
And to be clear, you have a ship and this board. They're all connected, but
They are connected, but they're also separate.
right. The ship holds its own things, and then your like backpack kind of holds other things.
Yeah.
Your
Because you personally cannot carry a ship.
Right.
Unless you're
But
Luke.
the ship, they carry different things. That's what I guess more.
That is true.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
We've probably confused everybody more.
It's okay.
On a turn, you go through 3 steps. You have the planning step, the action step, and then the encounter step to end your turn. On the planning step, you can do one of 3 things. You can move up to your ship speed, you can gain 2,000 credits, or you can recover all damage if you have gone through it.
And that's both character and ship damage.
You would recover all damage.
All damage done to
Yes,
everything.
To everything.
Gotcha.
You're having a day at home reflecting on your life.
On the in the tub. What's the thing?
You're in the ice bath.
No.
The back to tank.
Back to tank.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
I was drawing a blank there.
Well, it's basically
If
nice.
only they were real life.
I mean, Boba Fett spent a lot of time in the back to tank.
The back to tank heals all.
We had
Even
Boba
death.
Fett needed to dream to make the plot move forward. You, however, do not need to dream to make the plot move forward. You just move on to the action step.
Okay.
So, when you're in the action step, you can perform any or all of the following actions. You can deliver cargo or bounties if you're in the correct place. You can go to the market. There is a robust market with luxury goods, new jobs, new cargo, weapon upgrades, and you can also buy new ships if you are looking to upgrade that. You can also trade cards with another player in your space that you share. So you can do any or all of these things, and you can kind of do them in the order that you want to. And then you wrap up your turn by doing an encounter. If you're in a place where you are not on good terms with a certain patrol, so all 4 of those different syndicates, the 4 factions are roaming around the board.
Patrolling,
if you will. And if you are stuck on a space, let's say Ian is not on good terms with the Imperials, and the Imperial patrol happens to stop at his location, then he must fight. And hopefully it goes okay for him.
Yeah, they start shooting at me.
Yes. So then,
But I shoot back.
if you don't have that situation, you can choose to do something else. You can choose to either resolve an encounter card that is tied to the location that you're in, or you can resolve a contact token. So like I said earlier, there are different characters that are scattered throughout the galaxy. They are residing on these different planets. When you do either an encounter or a character token, when you flip it over, there is a story card associated with that token or encounter. You go through the little story thing, you either pay money or you fight them or you do whatever, and then the following consequences happen because of it. That is essentially what a turn looks like. Players continue taking turns until one player has collected 10 fame. Once they have done that, the game is immediately over and they win. There's lots of different ways to get fame: through jobs, through delivering certain cargo, by completing certain missions on different encounters, by delivering certain luxury items. I delivered a Rancor to Jabba one time. That was incredible and got me 2 fame. You have a personal goal that's on your character, and you also have a ship goal. And if you complete those, that also gives you fame. So there's lots of different ways to get fame in a game.
Different ways and different how to get them and different ways to achieve them and grab them and progress. Oh gosh, there's too many.
It's a lot. There is some player interaction in that there are certain missions that you could go on together. You could also end up fighting your other opponent's crew.
Yep.
Just depending on the situation. So there is some of that. But that is a basic how to play summary. As always, we will add a link in the video of someone's how to play that we like. So with that, Ian, let us talk about this game.
So remind me, cargo you do mid-turn.
Action step. Step 2.
But jobs go at the very, that's technically
So jobs are an encounter.
an encounter.
So that would be in step 3.
Right. So the jobs / location cards
Yeah.
/ the Maelstrom, which is another card. Those are within the same thing, the encounter card specifically.
That's right.
Because I had to get that down because the cargo, you are interacting with the planet you're with, but it's during the middle of your turn where a job or something like that is at the very end of your turn. It's the last thing you do. So
right,
which is that kind of makes sense though, because which I like. Obviously, the first thing you do is move your ship, fly around, and then you go. Let's say you land on a planet. If you're in mid space, you flip that encounter card. Some good things happen to you. Some bad things can happen to you. Again, there is a kind of a story within all of these cards. Every job, every cargo, the is it what is it? The ones that you're not. It's a waypoint or what? That's not the right word.
It's a nav point.
Nav point. All of these cards, no matter what you do, even if you do nothing on your turn, you're going to flip one of these cards. That kind of presents a story to your character in a way. I think that's really cool. But they have a little bit of theme intertwined in all of them, which is very well done. But I think it's cool that you can go sit on a planet, trade, do some stuff, also deliver cargo, which is thematic. You're on the planet, so you would do the cargo in the middle of your turn. Maybe grab some more cargo after you deliver some cargo.
Or go buy a ship with the money you just earned from delivering cargo. Or go buy a ship and
do all that. On top of all that, maybe you also, at the end of the day, finished a job. I don't know. But this is the progression of a turn. It all makes sense in my head, but while you're playing, it is a little bit of a kind of a organizational thing of trying to figure out the order of operations.
I see. I was wondering where you were going with this.
And I think that's really cool because there are games with like sequences within a turn. I don't know if there's many games that I played where there's literally 3 kind of phases to your turn that there's stuff you want to do within all those.
Yeah.
That you're locked into having to do it before the next one. And there are games that do that, but I don't feel like there are truly like 3 phases that like there's somewhere it's like, okay, you have to move and then you do stuff. Where this, you have to move.
Or you can move. Or you could stay.
You could stay. Or if you're dead, you have to heal and you can't move at all.
That's true. If you're dead, you have to heal.
And there's the whole, like, I would say most games would do it where completing the job part would be part of the take as many actions as you want.
Sure.
Now, you can only do each action one time, normally.
There are things that break the rules.
There are ways to allow you to do that. So, I guess the way I'm trying to present this is a very simple, straightforward way to do a turn. And it's broken down and forcing you to really think through, okay, what do I want to do with my turn? Because I can't do everything. But within all of that, there's a lot that happens on a turn.
I think what you're trying to say is this game is a weirdly structured sandbox.
Yeah.
Because you can do what you want.
Right. But then you don't feel like you could do anything you want ever.
And you can't just do anything you want. There's rules in life, Ian.
There are rules.
Even if you don't want to live by the rules, there are some rules that can't be broken.
What's funny when you take a turn in this game, you're like, man, I feel like I did a lot. But then you're like, I didn't do anything I really wanted to do. You're like, I really wanted to just capture this guy. And then something else happened. And it's like, okay, well, we're here now.
Yeah.
We ended up on Tatooine. I don't know how, but we're here.
Which is crazy because you had almost complete control over that.
That was a very long rant to basically say.
That was a journey.
I know. Like this game.
That's true.
When I start any game that I've played of this, every time I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. By the end of the game, I have gone so far away from that goal, not even close, that the game has kind of taken me on a journey to something that I didn't really expect. And the reason that happens, and I think in a way this game is presenting that, is there is a little bit of, there is a lot of randomness to me in this game. But within that randomness, there is obviously order because of the jobs and the different things. And you kind of react to the different jobs that pop up. But this kind of thematic journey kind of presents itself to you, and you choose which ones you want to do. But I feel like the game kind of defines your game and kind of forces you to play some different ways. You can choose to go against that at times. But in other ways, you're like, well, this job's over here on Tatooine and I'm close. I should probably take that because that's most optimal. So the game kind of opens you up to this journey, and I think to play it well, I think you need to react quickly and effectively, and also use it and predict maybe some other things that happen along the way. And so I think that's really cool for a game like this because the story is heavy into it. There's plenty of games where they are like, this is a Star Wars themed game. So there's a lot of theme behind it. But
100%.
The cards that are in this game also develop that theme very, very well for me.
Sure.
And so that's hard to do. And sure, that brings in a whole other aspect that I'll get into later. But I think overall, the theme develops this game. Star Wars, that has theme. But the theme inside this box is very much present, always there, constantly developing your character story, your bounty hunter's story. I'm in this game. You can play. Can't you play as Han Solo?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can play Lando, Han Solo. You can play all these characters, but you don't. It's not like you ended up with the Millenium Falcon. Like you can end up with the Millenium Falcon,
sure,
but you might have flown something else.
You're essentially taking them on their journey.
Yeah,
it can look very different from their actual journey in the story, or it can be something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think in my last game that we played, I was playing as Dr. Aphra from the comics.
Yeah.
And she ended up with IG-88 ship.
Yeah.
And fully upgraded, like stock and barrel, like ready to go. Yeah. And so you're right. There is a different narrative every time you play.
And it's not controlled. I mean, in my mind. It's controlled within the game, but
but no, I hear what you're saying.
The way the cards pop out, you never know.
That's true. What I will say is that I think that it's even with I think the randomness is excused to some degree in this game because of how well it fits into the theme.
Yes, I would agree with that. My point is, though, I guess if I want to fly the Ghost ship,
sure,
I can't just go buy the Ghost ship. It has to be available.
Well, no, man, you got to work your way up. You can't just go buy the Porsche.
I know, so as a criticism that would happen if I were playing Han Solo or Lando, is I want to fly the Millenium Falcon. If that card doesn't show up or somebody else purchases it in this game, I didn't get the opportunity to complete the story of what I think Han Solo should be.
See, but that's what I'm saying. You're approaching this from the wrong perspective at that point.
I'm saying for people, I think there are people that would be bummed out about that. They're like, man, I want to be Han Solo in this game. I didn't get my ship, which kind of feels... But again, you have to separate it. If I'm creating a new bounty hunter story.
It's a new canon.
Right. Yes.
For this 2 hours.
Yes. And so I like that. I'm saying, though, that I can see that as a little bit of a bummer.
Yep.
Because I didn't get the ship that I was like I really want that ship. So I get that. Like Boba Fett not flying the Slave One, I don't know. I feel it fits him, but flying an IG ship is also pretty dope. So
I'm just saying, like, personally, I think you have to approach this as you're gaining these characters before they become the characters that you know.
Right.
And whatever journey they go on with you, that's the person you're making them to become.
I do think that's what they intend on this theme. I think they say that is basically you're becoming famous. You're not famous yet. So, I agree with you. But you have to go into this with that mindset, though, and I don't know if everybody will. This is
a very interesting way to I didn't expect to be here.
Yeah,
but since we are, I will ask the question.
Okay,
would the game have benefited, or would it have been a detraction if instead of them being famous bounty hunters thrown in here.
Mm-hmm. Just generic.
Just generic. You make the character. You give them a name. You kind of get to do whatever. Like I'm thinking about one of the kids' games, Chronicles of Vel.
Yeah.
It's so good because they get to create the character.
Oh, that would be so much better.
Would it? Because on the one hand, you're like, I get to be Boba Fett. So which one is it? Do you want to be Boba Fett and make his career? Or do you want to be a generic bounty hunter and make its career? Which one do you want?
I don't know. I think the way the game plays, it'd probably be better. I think the way the game plays, it's meant to be like, man, I just made a character and they became the greatest bounty hunter. And then you, again, we'll get, I guess we'll say, so you go and hunt. If you're hunting, you hunt real characters from movies, other bounty hunters, so on, whatever.
So I 100% agree with you that it would be better if it was a generic, like you build your character, but it would not have sold as well.
It would have not sold as well. I agree with that as well. I think that, yes.
Oh, man. What a struggle.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because we've spent a lot of time. I don't know what we just did for the last 15 minutes, but that's okay. So
talking the theme of this game is it? I mean, it's a very important aspect.
I 100% agree. The theme is. I mean,
you're not going to like this game
if you don't like theme of Star Wars. Just turn. You know what? Turn off the podcast. Yeah, like this episode's over for you.
To another episode of ours, please.
That's right. Because this is full on Star Wars.
Go back to the beginning if you like birds.
No, don't go to the beginning because the beginning is Star Wars as well. Go to episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yes.
Of the beginning. The beginning of episode 2.
Of our show, not Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, if you want... No, don't go... No.
What are you doing?
No. Episode 2 of the originals.
But it wasn't episode 2. It was episode 5. Even then.
It was It was the second episode to come out.
But it wasn't episode 2.
It was not episode. It is that second. Anyway.
Holy bananas.
Jared.
All right.
Tell me what you like about this, because I do have something else I do enjoy, but go ahead.
Okay. I do like the full-on customization of my ship and of my character and being able to kind of build it to be who I want it to be. Now, there is some limitation to that. You can only have so many slots filled up with stuff, and your character does have a particular goal that they are working towards.
Yeah.
So you kind of work within that framework, which I think I also like. I really am not a huge fan of just full-on sandbox where it's just like, here's a blank canvas, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I want. Give me some direction. So I think it gives you just enough direction to point you where you want it to go, and then you can run that way how you want to.
Yeah.
And that's only for part of it. Like, you can win this game without completing your character's objective, so you can just do a full blank canvas if you want to, and do that.
Because you can avoid your character's like goal, and be fine.
Yeah,
there's ways to do that.
That's right.
Easy.
Another thing that I really like is that I feel like each turn you are getting to do something, even if you get stuck in space.
Totally.
So the fact that you need like 12 spaces to get where you need to go, you get halfway, you're like, oh crap, I'm ending my turn in space. No big deal. Sure, you don't get to buy anything in space, but something cool happens.
Those encounter cards are very nice.
The encounter cards are a great addition. And I like that with the encounter cards, the decks are nice and thick. So there's lots of different stories that you're going to go through.
You'll never see the same one for yourself twice.
You will have to play this game a lot before you start seeing it the same.
Yeah. And then with the expansion, I think it adds, does it add more?
It adds more.
Yeah. So that'd be a lot to get the same one on yourself more than once.
That's right. Every part of the game ties back to the story.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's so elegant in the way that it does it, because there's nothing crazy about the story. Like, even when we do the jobs, it's just like 5 steps that you're going through, and it's like a sentence or 2.
Yeah.
But like the one that we did where we were like trying to break in to get something together, like I genuinely was like, all right, I envisioning in my mind, we're going around the corner.
They gave you generic, like you said, it's like one sentence. It's like a very generic theme, but like, I mean, we know Star Wars, so we're like imagining this whole sequence in our heads of like a bank heist. It's like, yes, super cool. Very streamlined in the way it does it too. I think Fantasy Flight, I don't know if they've did this. I don't know. I don't. It's in many of their games. But when doing like again these heists, these jobs, there's different traits in this game. So like strength or
leadership or piloting or tech or whatever.
All generic abilities or strengths of characters. They do this in a lot in the games where, you know, you have to get so many successes, and then if you're good at something, it, you know, gives you a success or makes it easier to do this whole system. And I don't know if I don't know. It's in a lot of their games, so I don't know. Haven't seen it in many other companies' games all the time. But anyway, I love this. It's one of I love it in all of their games. I just think it's such a really cool way. It can add randomness because you're like, okay, well, how do I get these traits? But the idea, the theme behind those traits makes so much sense. An example is with certain jobs, and all these jobs say traits that they recommend or that you need to go on this job. So like an example, there's one of the ones we did is this heist, or another one that it was you're trying to disable a ship, as an example. So piloting, is it? It's not spy, but it's not spycraft. I can't remember the technical term, but
I'm not remembering which one you're talking about.
But anyway, you need these different traits to do certain jobs, and those traits fit so thematically into the jobs. And that's what I love about stuff like this, is that it's not like you're trying to chase this thing that's, you know, not catchable. I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's not the proper word but you can always use traits that you want to have, that you can get. It's not unachievable, I guess. And you can pick jobs that match your character's traits. And so you can use that to your advantage. And you're like, man, I have Boba Fett. He's good at strength because he's strong mentally and physically. Maybe not as physically because he got eaten, but...
Not in this game.
But not in this game. And he uses that strength to go on jobs or go for other, you know, bounties and use that to his advantage. And so you can fit kind of this concept and these ideas and these abilities within your character and apply it to the game thematically. Again, this is all thematically, and it all fits together also with the mechanics of the actual game. I think that's really cool. Fantasy Flight all does it very much in many other games that I've played of theirs, and I love that. It's one of my favorite mechanics in a lot of their games, and it just, again, continues into this game because I love it. And it just fits some thematically. Again, I do feel like this is more of a theme. There are mechanics that I like, but the theme is very heavy here and really driving the game most of the time. But I do really like that aspect, is because you can pick up characters. Let's say I picked up Chewbacca. Well, he's strong, so you get the strength trait. And so the more of these strength traits you do, the better you are at manhandling, you know, jobs or stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. I think it's a good way to balance the game in a way and use it, just fit even more theme into it, even though it was already thematic to begin with, but then you're adding even more here with these different traits. So
if I'm Cad Bane, and you're Han Solo, and I recruit Chewbacca, is that worse than if I were to pick up the Millenium Falcon? In this exercise that we're going through?
I guess it would be worse, yeah.
It would be worse for me to take Chewbacca.
I don't know, maybe not. He does love his ship. But he loves Chewie too, so I don't know.
I'm just saying, these are the questions you have to ask as you get ready to play this game.
So basically, as Han Solo in this game, you could have both taken away from you. And
You could.
There's that.
What about, what are some things that maybe you don't necessarily care for?
Randomness.
That's so funny because
randomness.
I don't care in this game. Like it means nothing to me in this game. It's also interesting because like being competitive in this game looks very different than it does in a lot of games. Like obviously there's a race to 10 or 12 or whatever number you set your fame at.
Yeah.
But like I am living a life as a bounty hunter and I'm trying to do it efficiently so that I can beat you, but I'm also enjoying the journey along the way because that theme is so strong.
Yeah.
Like you almost forget about the numbers to some degree for a little bit.
I mean, I haven't won this game, and I enjoy it.
There you go. I have won this game and I enjoy it.
Yeah, whatever. There is a ton of randomness in this game, and it's really hard to control any of it, in my opinion. Even when doing a job, so again, those traits that I was mentioning, they help you, but it doesn't. So when you go on these jobs, you have to roll dice normally, and you have to roll successes. So again, you're talking about dice that are 50%, sometimes 10%, depending on what you're trying to roll. And so on top of the randomness of being able to get certain traits for certain jobs is then you have to roll some dice. And there's not always ways to manipulate the dice. There are sometimes some characters can, and I would definitely prefer playing those characters because I don't like relying on a die roll for certain things is not my favorite thing to do. I want to be able to at least manipulate the dice to some extent in most games that are just rolling dice. And so again, you're relying on cards to be flipped up in your favor. On top of all that, rolling dice to result the cards that you are drawing. It's a lot of randomness. That's one thing that I don't particularly like. I don't know how it would be changed. I do think the expansion adds a little bit on being able to flip some of the characters, the character tokens, so that if you're truly bounty hunting in this game, then you can go find characters a lot easier. And I think that's awesome. I guess you can, apply some type of rule for yourself in a base game to some extent. I don't know how you would do it, but there's got to be a way. To flip a character every turn or something. I don't know, but it's just there's a lot of randomness, and that does bother me to an extent.
Sure.
And something that honestly, it feels like at the end of the game, you're like, man, there just wasn't any jobs that were even close to me, and so it just feels like you're constantly chasing the game and not really being a bounty hunter. That's if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I get it.
I don't like feeling like I'm chasing points or chasing another player. I feel like when one player kind of gets ahead in this game, they can start to really ramp up where I'm still like, I'm just chasing some money. And that did happen in one of our last games. You got ahead quick with some money, and then I just felt like I was chasing you the rest of the game.
But at the same time, so like that goes back to the theme though, right? Mm-hmm. Because on turn one, you were given an opportunity to go for it.
I did.
It was a go big or go home situation. And unfortunately, you went home. And that's just what happened.
Yeah. But I mean, you heal all your... I got all fully damaged in for turn one. I just don't know if that's just one... It's one turn. I mean, you could easily get damaged in another turn.
I'm just saying, man. I think...
I don't think that game was one turn that defined the rest of the game.
No, I played better than you. But
okay.
I also think that every turn is valuable, and you have to be smart about when you do X or Y. Not saying that I love the move, just from your perspective. Like, I was like, if he gets this, like, he's in great shape.
I mean, we both would have got the same amount of money, though.
Well, that was your prerogative. That was the other thing. Like, you made it a group thing, and I was like, I get to try this for free, basically.
Right.
So...
No, I know. I just don't, again, randomness. I don't know for a game that is truly literally rolling some dice and hoping for the best. I don't feel like you should be penalized for the rest of the game off one bad job.
Well, it wasn't one bad job. Like,
right. You're saying that one job hurt me.
I think it did. I think by having on turn one, so there are several jobs that you can do, especially early in the game, that are smaller, and it just gives you a little bit to kind of let you start going, which is what I was able to do on my turn. But if you like swing for the fences and you miss, you're that much farther behind to get your engine going.
That's I would say again with the randomness of that there was not any cheap jobs available, even when that was the job available. And I took it and did it at the end of my turn.
I get it.
So I did do a full turn before I did that job. So that was at the end of my turn I did the job. And they're just, I even cycled through other cards and didn't get anything.
Yep.
So now the patrols are obviously an easy way to get some money, but...
And fame after you get the first one out of the way.
Yes. Well, early on, you're wanting money. Later on, you want fame.
Right.
Again, in that turn, the most optimal way in my mind to play it was to go for the job that was on my turn.
Sure.
And could have attempted, where there wasn't anything else to do. So, and then me purchasing that allowed you to flip the next job, which was good for you. So all I'm saying is that there was a lot of randomness, not just in the cards that you have to buy every turn. You can only cycle through a couple of them.
Yeah.
Max. So if you don't ever flip any good jobs and they're all expensive early, then I don't.
So, okay. I guess I'm not really fighting you because I've already stated that there's randomness in this game.
Yeah.
No one can deny that. Like, there's card flipping, there's dice rolling. It's dripping in randomness almost as much as it is theme. But I disagree with you to say that there was nothing else you could do on your turn. Because you could have ended your turn encountering the planet, encountering a contact. Like, if you didn't... And again, like you said, each job has the traits that you would need to succeed.
Yes.
And you did kind of gamble there too. So, which I still love it. I love the play. I think you just had to deal with the outcome of that.
I just don't think you should be penalized for the rest of the game for it, which I don't know if we're agreeing or disagreeing on that. But I regardless, if this game, it doesn't matter how well you play this game. If you don't get any luck if you just don't ever get the jobs that pop up for you, then you're not going to win this game. There's not in my opinion, if the game wants you to lose, you're not winning it.
Man, I just don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's too much randomness. You can't, there's too much.
Interesting. Okay.
For a game that you're literally saying it is full of randomness, there's no way you can have...
There is a lot of randomness.
Randomness and control at the same time.
You're flipping cards.
And dice.
And you're rolling dice. So I get it. Like, and there's ways to mitigate both. Which kind of segues a little bit into my one critique that I have for this game. This game needs its expansion. If this game is standing alone without the expansion, for me, it's almost a full grade lower, because in the base game you can't so you have a semicircle of a board as far as traveling across planets.
Yep.
In the base game, you can't go from one side of the semicircle
to the other
side.
Yes.
Which is that sucks.
That's awful.
To draw something, speaking of randomness, to be on one side and draw something and say, oh, I have to go all the way to the other side.
Right.
That's never going to happen. Like, I just can't commit to that.
Which is what happened. That we didn't. The one time I played this game prior to the expansion, that's what happened. On top of not being able to cycle anything, constantly getting cards on opposite sides of the galaxy does not bode well when trying to win a game that's only like 10, 15 turns max.
Right. So the expansion fixes that.
Yes.
The other thing the expansion fixes is it allows you to cycle more cards in a deck, which lets you try to find something that you want.
One more card.
Changed the game for me.
Yeah.
I felt like it helped cycle so many things. You also start exposing contacts on the board, so you have a better idea of where people are for different bounties, which totally helps if you're going the bounty hunter route. It also, there's a few other things as well that I just think really enhances the gameplay. I think the base game is fine. I would enjoy it for a few times just to get that experience, but I really think the expansion makes it shine. So that would be my critique, is that it can't stand by itself.
No, I think the expansion is... There's not many expansions that are must-haves, but this one is.
Yeah, I will never play this game without the expansion. Again, there's no way.
If I played it without the expansion, I'd be house rolling expansion rules into the base game. Because not being able to travel from one side to the other is...
ludicrous.
It makes it just so hard to do anything.
Well, it slows the game down. Like, a 4-player game in just the base game takes forever.
Yeah.
At least in a 4-player game with the expansion, like, you're cycling the game pretty quickly, and you're getting back to that 2-hour range that they promise.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, player interaction and player count. Do you have a preference?
I mean, probably 3 is best.
I would agree. 3 is best.
I guess another problem, and I guess I've never hit the sweet spot with this game, so I guess I have a little bit more criticism, is that I've played this game with 2 players, so it felt like I couldn't cycle through the cards that I wanted because nobody else, I would just cycle cards and then you wouldn't, so then I had to do it again, and then I still don't get a card. Where if there's more players, there's more people picking through, and so then nobody else wanted this one, I'll get this one. But then in the other game I played, a prior game, as I didn't have the expansion at all, so then I was bounty hunting in that game, and I couldn't bounty hunt because, again, with the way the expansion wasn't out yet at that point, it was really hard to bounty hunt.
Sure.
So in the couple games that I have played through all this, it's like nothing worked right, because just either way that the expansion wasn't out yet or the amount of players I was playing with, just nothing ever hit right. So I don't know. I'm trying to refrain from saying too much, because I do like the game. I enjoy the game a lot. I guess with all that, I still enjoy the theme a ton. There are just some the little parts of like that really affected the gameplay for me in the moment, which is bothersome. So I'm trying to create a whole picture in my mind of what this game truly presents, because I think it's important to discuss is that it is some of the circumstances do have to hit right in my mind. So,
all right. I agree that 3, I guess it depends on what kind of game that you want. If you want a game with very little conflict and you just want to kind of race to see who can be the best bounty hunter, 2 is great.
Yeah.
You're going to stay out of each other's way 90% of the time. You're going to both be doing your own thing.
We crossed
at the beginning of the game.
And then at the end, but we didn't really cross. We just were like next to planets. Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just kind of doing our own thing.
I played with 3. I don't know if I've played with 4.
I've played all player
I played with
counts.
3, but I don't know if I've played with 4 or 3. That one game, I'm trying to remember if there was 3 or 4. But anyway, there's a little bit more conflict in that game.
If you like conflict, 4 is great.
Yeah.
If you want a little bit of both, then 3 is the way to go, for sure.
Which is why I say 3 is the best, because there was a better experience. So
yeah, I don't know that I have a preferred. It kind of depends on what I'm feeling, but I personally have not had a bad experience at any player count, other than a 4-player in just the base game takes a long time.
Yeah, no, that's not necessary for a game like this.
Right. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Grading and final thoughts. I think you should go first, because I feel like you've got to get this off your chest.
I give this game a 9 out of 10 for theme.
Okay. What about for the game?
For the game itself, I have mentioned some of the things that I don't like. I don't think this game sucks. I think there are aspects of the game that fit with the theme that I really, really, really like, which is doing all the things that mercenaries do in the Star Wars universe, and being able to achieve those and complete those is a lot of fun, and I enjoy that aspect. I think there was a little bit of a kind of a misconception on the way the characters that you are and the way the game plays is not exactly well defined in my mind. When playing, you're like, well, this character does something, but I kind of need to get away from that. I think that would have been nice to know going into a game like this. But with that, you can still have fun playing the game, just don't always stick to one thing. And that's any game, so that's that. But I would give this game a 6 based on the way the game plays along with the theme and the mechanics that go on with the theme. Is that there are just some things that I don't particularly enjoy, which is a good amount of the randomness and not being able to always control it. But I think the theme does keep me interested in this game, even if I'm doing poorly, the game's like the theme. Watching other players and enjoy their story, I think is another aspect that I didn't make clear in this, is that when I'm watching the other players go on their journey, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And being able to see their stories progress, which is what keeps this game honestly higher for me than what like my experiences have been. I've not had great experience with this. I've had good experiences, but I haven't played it well. I don't play this game well, and I would like to play it a couple more times and really kind of solidify how I would play it and see if it's just user error. But I do really enjoy how other people play this game and the story that develops for them, because I think that is so much of this game. The theme is everything. The theme is what drives this game. And if you can go into it not just going in, focusing on one thing, and this is how I have to play it, and honestly don't worry about the randomness and whatever happens to your character, then I think you might enjoy this game. But for somebody like me, who I don't like to have a ton of randomness and stuff that I can't necessarily control, and not that I can control stuff in this game, but the amount of things in this game that are uncontrollable compared to the things that are controllable, for me personally, it is a little bit of a bother, especially for a game that I desire to play my character how the movies have shown me to play them, or how in my mind this preconceived notion of how to play Lando or how to play Han Solo or how to play Boba Fett. That's how I want to play them. And this game isn't always like that. You're not always going to play Boba Fett as the mercenary bounty hunter. Sometimes you're just going to go unload some cargo. So I think me knowing that moving forward, but also for anybody going into this game, I think that's an important thing to note. And that's why I give this game a little bit lower than probably you will. But I think that's an important thing to note, especially for me, and something that is important for people to understand potentially before entering this game, so that they can have more fun with it. Because I think I would have enjoyed this game more if that were the case. So anyway. You've seen so much.
I have.
The force is strong with this one.
Gosh.
The listeners don't know.
I'm gonna let them peek behind the curtain slightly. So this is our second take of giving our ratings here at the end.
Oh my god.
We kind of had
it's been a journey
of our own here.
A journey within this journey of a game.
So Ian said something on the original rating that was so outlandish that I couldn't contain it. I tried to let it go, and I was like, this is absurd. And
I still said it. I just said it more eloquently.
You did a much better job this time, and it was much more accurately portrayed to what you actually felt, which I appreciated.
Which was very similar to the thing I said before, but just
so
different.
we're not lying to you. We're not hiding anything other than 40 minutes of audio of us arguing back and forth over stupid nonsense.
I don't know if it was that stupid. I thought it was a good conversation. For me.
Would you? Well, I was going to say, who else would find that to be true? Exactly. I give this game an 8.5. Oh gosh, he's going to die. I give this game an 8.5.
How could you? Tell us how.
Shut up, and I will.
Tell us why it's an 8.5 for you.
I love the theme in this game. I love going on a Star Wars journey in a way that I don't think any other board or card game can do for me at an individual character level.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I also really enjoy just the openness, but it's not too open. So I've got the ability to explore the galaxy, but I've also got things to do. And for someone like me, who is not a big picture thinker, but more of a building on itself, I really enjoy that. I love the tactical gameplay, and I honestly, the randomness and the bad things that happen feel like part of this journey that I'm going on, and it kind of hides itself to where it doesn't feel as bad when randomness comes into play. Now, I hate a bad dice roll as much as anybody.
You definitely don't roll great.
And so when stuff like that happens, I get it. It sucks. If I have multiple traits going into a job and the only reason I fail that job is because I just roll terribly, absolutely, I will be bummed in that moment. But in the same way that in real life I get out of bed some days and I just suck for that day, I just shrug it off and move on to the next one. So
moving on.
I understand. I'm not going to hold that against this game. I still give it an 8.5. If you don't like Star Wars, you don't need to play this game. If you are a hardcore Euro gamer, don't play this game. But if you want to go on a Star Wars journey where you're controlling one character, I mean, truthfully, what you should do is play a Star Wars RPG and join up with some other people at the tabletop. And you should do that. I think you would thoroughly enjoy it, but you're afraid of D&D and all that, so we'll get you there someday. But if you're not going to do that, this is a very close second as far as going on a journey. So I gave it an 8.5. If you're playing just the base game, I think it's closer to a 7 or a 7.5. I don't care what the theme is. If you're going to make me like drag out a game because you can't get the cycle to move faster, I'm not going to have a good time. So that's how I feel.
I do agree with that. It's a good story, Star Wars story.
Yeah.
That there's not many other games that are going to do whatsoever. So
right. All right. So listeners, for us, it's been almost 2 hours. For you, it's been hopefully less than an hour by the time I get done with this.
We apologize.
But I do thank you for listening. If you stopped listening because you hate Star Wars, that's fine. Come back another time.
If you stop listening because of Ian's rants, come back another time.
That would be nuts. I need to hear your story because we've clipped most of those.
It's just anytime Ian rants about a game, you're like, I'm out. I'm done. Can't handle it.
Gosh.
You might be in for a long process if that's the case.
But if you have feedback or want to give us your thoughts on the game,
yes,
we would love to hear from you.
I would like to hear that. Links
to our socials are in the description. If you don't like socials, I get it. I took Reddit off my phone this past week, and it has been a lifesaver. It's been a hard week, guys, but not having to deal with social media, it's even better.
Specifically Reddit as well.
I've already dropped Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
So all that's left is an Instagram
They're
account.
Just falling apart over here.
I only have Instagram because of this podcast, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm almost all the way out. But yeah, if you hate socials, I get it. Check out our website at thegametablepodcast.com or shoot us an email at thegametablepodcast@gmail.com or find us on Board Game Geek. All of these links are in the description. 5-star reviews, subscribing to your podcast player of choice, following us on socials, and joining the conversation on Discord. All of these heroic actions are immensely helpful in growing this podcast. Special thanks to Angie Santiago for our cover art and to Anna Snyder who made the music. Join us next week as we have a little switcheroo.
Oh no.
As Ian joins us at the Two Top table, where he and I discuss That Time You Killed Me.
Which he's about to do to me, so.
In the meantime, may your dice rolls and your card draws be blessed so that randomness does not overtake you. And your experiences at the table be ones to remember forever.
Before I go to the future to go to the past.
Shut up.
For you to kill me, I kill you before you kill me. It's a spoiler. It's a tease. What present future are we living in?